From the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina, this is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, presented by A Cloud Guru, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Cloudcast, coming to you live from the massive studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. You know, one of the things that Aaron and I talk about all the time, and it was kind of part of the reason why we decided to get engaged with the folks from A Cloud Guru was, you know, we've been not only doing the podcast for a long time, but we've been, you know, in the IT industry for quite a while. We've seen a lot of things change. You know, we've both gone through a number of job changes and kind of had to go through the process of learning new technologies, of learning, you know, how do you apply what you've had at a previous job to kind of the new economy that we're dealing with in terms of cloud and open source and community-based interactions and so forth. And, you know, one of the things that we always wanted to make sure we're doing is, you know, a lot of people would say, hey, I'm in this job and I might want to learn something new, or how do I find the time to do it? Or, you know, are these skills applicable to that skill? And so, you know, we always want to make sure that we're kind of coming back to the roots of the show and the roots of kind of our journey through IT. And so we're always looking for people that are going through that journey and have a chance to talk to them. So very excited this morning to have a chance to talk to somebody who I've kind of been keeping an eye on. Aaron and I have both been kind of keeping an eye on, and we think has a very sort of interesting journey in this space. And so excited to have on Tanya Selvog this morning. Tanya, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
So, you know, it sounds sort of weird. Aaron and I talk all the time because we get a chance to meet a number of people somewhat face-to-face in events, but a lot of times the people that we meet are through online communities. We meet them through Twitter and Facebook and so forth. That was kind of how you popped up on our radar. You'd kind of tweeted some things about some journeys you were going through. Your Twitter handle is AWS Newbie, and I thought, okay, that's sort of an interesting perspective on things, right? People in tech tend to want to talk about how great they are and their skills, and you'd kind of identified yourself and said, hey, I'm at the beginning of this journey. So tell us a little bit about your background and how I picked up on you wrote a blog that was called sort of 100 Days of AWS Learning, or 100 Days of Cloud Learning. Just give us a sense of your journey, kind of where you are in technology and what you're trying to achieve.
So my background is actually, I have a bachelor's degree in religious studies. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin in Eau Claire for religious studies and a minor in family studies. I had no intentions of computer science at all. I tinkered around with that back in like early 2000s by creating my own website and stuff. But aside from that, I never went any further because I didn't think I was smart enough or good at math, and I thought that's what you needed to have. And so I pursued the liberal arts degrees, and I don't regret it. But a couple years ago, I was kind of bored with my job, and I discovered Code Academy, and I started doing that, and I really enjoyed it. So then I enrolled at the local tech college for software programming, and I was really good at it. But then in the middle of my studies, life threw itself at, and so I kind of stopped my learning for software programming, and I thought, well, that was nice, but I don't want to do that. But then I didn't know what I wanted to do. Then last year on Leap Day, actually, Kat and I moved from Wisconsin to Austin, Texas, because I got sick of the weather, and I knew Austin is known for being a good tech community, and I kind of wanted to get back into that. I had never, and I still don't have a job working yet as a junior programmer, but that was kind of my goal. And so then this year I went to General Assembly for a 12-week immersive course in full stack development.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and you know, I know we've talked to a number of people who, you know, didn't necessarily start in computer science. They started in a lot of different disciplines. I know, like myself, My background wasn't in CS. It wasn't even wasn't in engineering or mathematics. And I remember being 23, 24 years old and thinking, I was working in technology sort of in sales. And I got a chance to work with a lot of systems engineers. And I thought, these people are so smart. They know so many things. And while it was interesting at the time, I was like, they're so far ahead of me. I can never ever catch up to what they're doing. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And so I'm curious, you started dabbling with technology. Were you just doing this like at nights and on the weekends? Or, a lot of time people kind of curious, how do you find the time to work on something that's not in just like your day job?
Yeah, it was really nights and weekends. When I first started doing it, I think it was in the wintertime. And, northern Wisconsin wintertime, there's not a lot to do right. Unless you're really into snow and going outside in the cold. And I really was not a big fan of that. So I started just kind of tinkering around with Code Academy, and I really liked it. And I'm somebody who naturally, I actually like logic and puzzles and doing all that kind of stuff. But for so long, I didn't think, well, I just thought, oh, computers, that's way beyond me, and then I started doing it. I'm like, I actually really like this. Yeah. So I just continued with it. Yeah.
Interesting. So it was kind of the idea of exploration, curiosity. You like the logic, you like the challenges of some of those things. So you made a decision and you said, okay, I'm going to kind of refocus myself. I'm going to kind of be focused on this again. You went to kind of an immersive group. You went to General Assembly, which is one of these academies that kind of does a shorter period of time, 12, 13, 14 week, very immersive thing around kind of full stack, which means you're going to learn a lot of things. Tell us about that process. What is the environment like? What are some of the people that you're working with, both in terms of the instructors or your colleagues? Like, give us a sense of what's their background. Were they similar to you, not coming from CS, or were they kind of in that, but trying to get focused?
Yeah. Well, to get into General Assembly, like the other boot camps, it does require an pre-examination type thing and an interview. And then if you get accepted, my class happened to have, it was quite large. It happened to have I believe 22 other students. So that's kind of large. The good thing about it is my class also, though, had about 8 females in it. And so that was really nice. And for the most part, my classmates did come from other vocations prior to General Assembly. So one girl was a hairstylist, another was an attorney. And so there was a wide range of backgrounds, which that made it really nice and comforting so it was just a good class. It was pretty intense as far as the schooling goes. Each morning we'd learn something new, in the afternoon we'd learn something else new, and then we'd have homework to do. And so it was both good and bad. We also did have one day a week, we'd have a career outcomes instructor come in and help us with the resumes and how to network and how to meet people and stuff like that.
And as you were learning, you said the topics that you were learning were lots of different things. If you tell somebody you're a full stack developer, I mean, it's front end, it's back end, it's potentially infrastructure. Did you find yourself kind of gravitating towards a certain set of topics, or did they allow you to specialize a little bit?
Well, we graduated with the full stack, but you could do more. I mean, obviously you could learn more. I like front end development. I now know some back end, but I wouldn't feel comfortable applying for back end positions. And also that wasn't something that I particularly enjoyed. So you go through this process, you're looking around for jobs. And one of the things I noticed in reading through some of your blogs and your stories was, you've also been involved with some broader communities. So CodeNewbie and Women That Code, and give folks a sense who, because those groups are very good, not only in terms of being broad reaching, but, they're helping people that are new. Like you said, there's times when it makes sense to be learning with other women. There's just the way that you think about it, or just natural sort of camaraderie. Give us a sense of what those communities have been useful for and what you've gotten out of some of those communities. One thing thing that our career counselor recommended to me was checking out Women Who Code in Austin. And so that's how I found out about the Cloud Guru event back in April.
Okay.
And what I really like about those groups, as well as like CodeNewbie, is definitely for me, I have imposter syndrome. And so it really helps to have other people that I can talk to who share similar experiences. Both CodeNewbie as well as Women Who Code have Slack channels, in which I've also connected with individuals on there, talking about our journeys into, job hunting and interviewing, and also especially like I'm part of the Women Who Code in Austin and then Women in Tech Slack channels. And it's just been nice to connect with women in there who have had similar experiences, including even like, sexism with encountering different things that even as a newbie, I'm like, wow, I didn't think this would happen at an event.
Yeah, it's the unfortunate sort of dark side of our industry.
Yeah,
which is good news is it's getting more light. There's more people talking about it. The bad news, it's still unfortunately very prevalent and so forth. So you're involved with those communities. Are you, as you're trying to build out, say, your resume, you're trying to get visibility, and obviously, like you said, you're not doing this full time at this point. Are you working on like side projects so that you can point people to it as sort of resume building, or just building your own experience, things that you can point to on GitHub or front end websites or mobile apps?
Yeah, I'm actually just getting back into it. I was working 2 jobs about a month ago, and both were not in tech, and they were very frustrating. And I didn't have time besides studying for, like AWS stuff. But right now, I have a little bit of time, and so I'm getting back into it.
Good.
I created an AWS user group in Austin, AWS Austin Newbies. And so I'm hoping to get together some events in which other newbies can learn more about AWS, meet some people from Amazon, and talk about cloud computing, as well as right now I have some time. I'm going to work on some projects, as well as I'm trying to also get more involved with the local tech community. And my goal is to do at least 1 or 2 hackathons by the end of the year. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. And, I noticed you mentioned having gone to an Cloud Guru event. I assume that was like the beginning of their serverless conf event that was in Austin a few months ago. Since then, I think you've taken some of their courses. How are you seeing the difference between sort of the more self-paced online courses like those and, the more immersive stuff like you saw at General Assembly? Do you find certain personalities attract towards one versus the other, or how are they different, or good and bad?
For me, I really like a Cloud Guru courses a lot. I like being able to, because I'm kind of, I don't want to say old school, but I like being able to pause the videos and then take actual like written notes versus typing everything out on the computer. And I know for me, I'm a very shy person and I'm very quiet, and I like that when I study. So for me, like the immersive course and having 22 students in there, that was great, but I prefer a more like solitude learning environment, and I can just learn on my own. Yep. So that was really helpful, and that's what I like, and that's what I find to be better for me as an environment to learn, whereas others may like the larger group as well as like just group projects and stuff, which I like group projects, but I prefer doing stuff on my own. So
yeah. No, it makes sense. And I think the nice thing that's out there is, you can kind of gravitate towards the things that fit your personality, whether it's, like you said, sort of the self-paced, maybe more individual things like an Cloud Guru, some of these community-based projects, or community groups where, you can talk to people, and if that fits the personality, and other things that are more immersive. So that's useful. What else are you finding, where do you have struggles in terms of your learnings, that, you kind of wish, you had known a little more beforehand, or, those types of things?
One area that I kind of struggle with is finding resources that I like. One thing with General Assembly is was very frustrated with asking questions, and for me, I learn by reading documentation and having references. And so when I would ask my instructors, where can I find this? And their answer would be, just Google it. And that's understandable. I can Google, anything.
Sure.
But if you could tell me, like, this is a good resource, versus that's kind of what
trying to find stuff in the big ocean.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. And that's something I know a lot of people struggle with is, there's so many things that are new that are coming fast. And to a certain extent, you're looking for things that, while they may not always be perfect, you want to spend more of your time in the learning process than in the sort of searching and finding process. And, even if they gave you things that are, reasonably good, they don't have to be perfect. I think that's something that a lot of us sort of should be keeping in mind, especially as we're trying to get people to understand new technologies or, new paradigm shifts that, people don't want to spend their time searching. They want to spend their time doing and learning. And so, you talked about whether it's through some of these online communities or whether it was through General Assembly and so forth, that, some people have been helping you in terms of resume creation, in terms of kind of talking about how you present yourself to candidate employers and so forth. Like, what are some of the things that you've learned that have worked, or some of the things that are difficult in terms of, trying to break through and get those roles that are going to be more exciting for you?
One thing for me that I'm trying to work on is not to get too frustrated or caught up with just job hunting. And for me, early on, I used to attend a lot of meetups, and that's fun to get to know people and to network. But a few meetups, I would have people that would I'd tell them my background, and they'd inadvertently tell me, you should go into customer service at this company. And I'd be like, well, and so I didn't have a good, I didn't defend myself or, speak up. Well, actually, I'm a junior developer. I want to, do that versus they'd spend 10 minutes telling me about how customer service is great. And so that I find frustrating. And I think that deterred me for a couple of months of not wanting to go back or just not even wanting to apply because of that.
So do you feel like sometimes it's not as clear what the starting path is for developers sometimes?
Yes. And I think in talking to some people on Slack, who have similar frustrations, it is, I think for me, I find just the job hunt was a lot more difficult than I anticipated, especially considering that how boot camps sell, there's so many openings in programming, and that's true, and it continues to grow, but just getting the first job is a lot harder than I ever expected it to be.
And are you finding that potential employers or people that you're talking to give you feedback so that you can go, okay, I should narrow down what you present to them, or I should focus it, or is it sort of binary, yes, no, in terms of feedback to you?
It's generally pretty binary as far as feedback, unfortunately. I've gotten a lot of thanks for applying, but no thanks, but nothing else. And it's like, okay, well, That's frustrating. Right. So, yeah. Well,
listen, if you were to sort of, we have a reasonably sized audience out there, a lot of people that are, that hire, that know people. I mean, if you were to make a short elevator pitch as to, why somebody should give you a chance, or why somebody should reach out to you, give us the elevator pitch for Tanya on, your best skills, the things that you're passionate about, kind of what you'd love to work on, if given the opportunity.
Honestly, right now, as a junior developer, I realize my skills are pretty limited, but my goal and what I really want to work on is by the end of the year getting my first AWS certificate, and I would love to do something with Amazon Web Services, whether it's just doing some type of internship or something. I really find cloud computing to be something I really enjoy. And that's kind of the pathway I want to take.
And what do you feel like are your sort of best technology skills? What areas or technologies are really interesting to you?
Like aside from AWS, like front end development, I really enjoy just React, HTML, CSS, and also JavaScript. It's not my forte right now, but that's something I'm trying to also build on too.
Very good. Well, listen, what would be if people were interested in kind of reaching out and talking to you, engaging in the things that you're passionate about? What's the best way for folks to reach out to you or read about your journey and see, how they might work with you?
The best way is to contact me on Twitter. You can message me. My handle is at AWS Newbie. Otherwise, if people want, they can also personally email me at my first and last name at gmail.com. Okay. I haven't blogged in a while, but my goal is to get back into that to chronicle my AWS learning. And then if anybody is going to AWS reInvent in November, I'm also attending that. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I know we have a lot of people that typically attend, and there's lots of, not only is there tons of sessions and learnings at that event, but lots of after events that are good for networking and so forth. Well, listen, like we said at the top of the show, the journey in technology, while it always tends to look very rosy, in the magazines and we hear about startups, everybody's journey is a little bit different. Aaron and I both started off doing stuff that, looking back was kind of grungy and grimy. We were kind of very super low level, didn't always come from the right background, just kind of took jobs that we have to. And I think if you ask most people, where they started is obviously much different from where they ended up. So thank you so much for the time today. Folks, if you are looking for somebody who is passionate, is willing to work, is willing to learn, get in touch with Tanya. We like to highlight people that, we think, have the right attitude, the right ambitions, that are willing to learn. And, just like we've shown in other shows, like when we talk to the folks, from Kentucky that were helping coal miners learn technology, there's always a good time to help people get started. You never know, how you can get somebody who is going to be, your next rock star, your next 10x full stack developer. And sometimes people just need that first step. So Tanya, thanks again so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. And folks, like we said, if you get a chance, reach out to Tanya. She's got an interesting passion about what she wants to do. And we always talk about there's lots of opportunity out there. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up for myself and for Aaron and for Tanya. Thank you for listening today. And we will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more podcasts, show notes, and everything social media. And visit acloud.guru for all your cloud training needs.